What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host that tried Mr. Beast Burger. It was alright. Drinks weren't cold. Zach, and today's subreddit is r/PettyRevenge. Took me like 30 tries. Ironically, saying that took me multiple tries. Took me 2 tries. Nice. This just in. Mr. Beast Burger inhabits speech. Alright, on to the stories. Alright, this story's called Snipe My Parking Spot? Fine. This happened over a decade ago. I was running errands with my grandmother, and due to her declining health, I was driving. We got to the post office in a strip mall so she could get a book of stamps, and had been patiently waiting for an end stop that was just about to open up. Watched the person get into the car and settle in. I turned on my blinker, signaled my intent, and waited patiently. While waiting, I scanned the scenery and watched the other vehicle in question enter the driveway 2 large shops down and heeded no mind to them. Meanwhile, the person finished backing out, but did so in such a way that we were blocked off from accessing it rapidly. But as soon as they cleared the area, I swung a bit wide. I was driving a conversion van to approach the spot when the car I watched enter the driveway acknowledged my blinker, pointed at me, and laughed as they swooped into the spot, nearly tapping the bumper of the vehicle in the spot directly across from him. Important later. I mentioned to this smug, entitled jerk that I was obviously waiting for this spot, even had my blinker on, and that he should move. I know, futile, but I figured being nice would be the right approach. I was in my early 20s. "I'll only be a minute," was his smug response. "Alright, you want to play games, sir? Games we shall play." I told my grandmother to go ahead and go into the post office to do her business, after confirming that we had nowhere else we needed to go to in a timely manner. A plan formulating as I'm ushering her out of the vehicle so I could exact my revenge. 2 things of note. A conversion van is capable of getting insanely close to other objects and still be able to allow a person to climb in or out. And the vehicle to the right of this jerk was shorter than his, which left extra room for my grandmother to get back in. While my grandmother was in the post office, I rocked the conversion van as close as I possibly could to his bumper without touching anything, while leaving just enough room for my grandmother to get back in through the passenger door. Turns out his business took longer than hers, so I was able to get even closer to his bumper, ultimately blocking him in, with as close as he was to the car across from him, and as close as I opted to park my vehicle. He had no moves he could make without hitting other vehicles, whereas I was able to move freely to allow the other vehicle to leave, while still keeping the jerk pinned in place. What made it better was my grandmother picked up a free calendar from the post office, and we used that as a means to occupy our time and attention. After coming out and seeing what I had done, he started yelling. I don't really remember exactly what was said, but he was fuming. We took this opportunity to smile and wave at him, and my grandmother, catching on to what was happening and with the window cracked, loudly announced that she got a new calendar and the pictures were breathtaking and that I needed to see them, as she pushes the calendar into my field of view and loudly describing what the pictures were of, reading the captions, discussing the various shades of the many colors on each and every picture. When she was done with that, she felt obligated to obnoxiously discuss the days of the month, the holidays landed on for that year, the lunar cycles, birthdays, and so on. 25 minutes roll by at this rate. Who would have thought calendars were so interesting? And jerk gets out of his car, yelling profanities at such a rate that I swear he was about to pass out. He approached my window and aggressively asked me why I'm taking so long. I responded with, "Well, had you allowed me the spot I patiently waited for, I wouldn't be blocking you in right now," and drove off. Act like a butthole, be treated like a butthole. That's simple. Well, I mean, I'm sure that's not always bad, right? I appreciate the petty revenge done here. However, I feel like obviously you got enjoyment out of it, but in reality, who is inconvenienced the most? Obviously, you take take away his power of choice in being in that parking spot or whatever, then like, yeah, that's inconvenient. But you had to wait there for longer than he did. But anyway, I'm not gonna pee on your party. I'm not R. Kelly. Alright, this story's called I Have Redone a Group Project in One Evening Because My Group Mates Were Really Lazy. So I have had people saying it was bad what I did, and some people were on my side. Maybe I was just a petty butthole, but maybe some just were never in such a situation, so they have no clue how that feels. You all probably know these people that barely do anything in a group project. I had to do a group project, a learning video with only such people in my group. Because of that, I was trying my best to manage that, and after telling them what we had to do, they picked their parts. Those were already the easiest. It's not even as if it was hard. However, the part we had to do together, I did alone while they were joking around. The parts they were supposed to do alone were not prepared well, even though I already sent them anything they needed. All they had to do was read it and memorize it. They weren't prepared for the recording of the video, and after the dude who was supposed to send me his voice recording of the text he needed to read over WhatsApp as a voice message, I had enough. I redid his reading, redid the recording as we only stopped with the product we had because there was no time left and none of them would have wanted to spend their afternoon retaking it. Only thing I did to protect them somewhat was telling the teacher that I have lost our work and have redone it alone. She said that it was fine as she saw what they did over the past lessons we worked together. In the end, I walked out with a good grade and they, well, weren't looking all too happy about their grades. If they hadn't joked around when we had to do our research, maybe I wouldn't have done that. But yeah, some might say I did go too far, but I think one would say different if they had been in my situation. Completely justifiable. They definitely should have contributed. So OP, don't fret, buddy. You did the work. You got a good grade. That's all you got to worry about. If the teacher decided to give them bad grades, that's between them and teach. Alright, this story's called Me Being Petty the First Time in My Adult Life About My Dog. The first time. Me being petty the first time. Some dude from a video game, an RPG, about a kindergartner. So, in my country, all dogs have to wear a muzzle at all times in the trains that go between the cities, except the ones in a carrier. I travel every second weekend to my boyfriend 3 hours away with my German Shepherd. I always put his muzzle on before getting on the train. However, this day I wanted to do it inside because of my luggage and never seeing anyone ever on this route with a dog. Of course, this day there was another person in the train with a Rottweiler already sitting without a muzzle. Both dogs bark in the small wagon hallway, but I hurry to get to my seat and put my dog's muzzle on. I thought for a second to tell the attendant that there was a dog without a muzzle. He'd have to pay a fee, but I was like, well, mine didn't have a muzzle on either in that moment. Nothing happened, and I don't have to make the life of anyone else harder than it already is traveling with a big dog. When I went to get out, we passed the same dog, which was now standing in the middle of the hallway, looking like he was about to start a fight with my dog, still not wearing a muzzle. The guy finally pulled him back by the leash when mine was trying to bark through the muzzle. Then he murmured something about me, which annoyed me, but I just said calmly, "You might want to put a muzzle on your dog because it's mandatory in here." He got nasty, saying, "Well, if I trained my dog right, I wouldn't need one, and yours is clearly the problem here," which pissed me off royally, and I yelled back that it doesn't matter because a muzzle is mandatory regardless. He was saying something again, but I left the train at that point. Walking by the front, I saw an attendant, and I told her about the Rottweiler that looked like it was about to start a fight with my dog, and wasn't wearing a muzzle despite me telling the owner friendly to put one on. So, the PettyRevenge was tattling? Ah, very inspired. It's badass traveling with a German Shepherd. Oh, shoot! I don't know why. Okay, I just assumed you were going to Germany or something because I read the word German. And that's why why I gave the dude a German accent, but who cares? Only people that travel by trains between cities are in Europe, so you know what? It's a possibility. It is a possibility that I was traveling with my Rottweiler. I don't know. Alright, this story's called Customer Flips Out Over the Word Courtesy, Loses Out on Fee Waiver. This technically wasn't my petty revenge, but that of a coworker of mine that I was witness to. I worked in a call center for a credit card company. At the time, there was a $10 fee for processing a payment over the phone. I'm not here to justify it, that's just what it was, and it was perfectly legal. It was one of those things that a CSR could choose to waive, but were definitely not required to, and in fact would have to justify their reasoning for waiving it. Waive too many and you'll get a lesser raise, worse shift choices, etc. So not a lot of people waive them. Anyway, I was sitting with a girl listening to her call as part of my job at the time, and she received a call that went like this, verbatim. "I want to make a payment over the phone," the customer said gruffly. "That's no problem," replied the rep. You know what, I'm just gonna do regular voice because, yeah, you get it. "That's no problem," replied the rep. "It does have to be with a check, and there is a $10 processing fee for that." "A fee? I didn't know there was a fee." "Well, I can waive it for you as a courtesy since this is your first time paying by phone. Just remember, you can always pay online or in the store." "A courtesy?" he shrieked, cutting her off. "It isn't a courtesy! You can't consider it a courtesy if there's no other way to pay the dang bill." "I'm going to waive it for you, sir," she pleaded, trying to talk him down from his unhinged fury. "It's no problem, but there are other payment methods. As I was saying, you can—" "This isn't right!" he continued to berate her. "How dare you say it's a courtesy? I want to talk to your supervisor right now!" At this point, she was required to transfer to a supervisor, getting someone I knew quite well and who had little patience for jerk customers. I didn't hear that call myself, but I talked to the supervisor after. Upon getting the call, the customer screamed at her, the supervisor, for the word courtesy being used and demanded an apology and to pay his bill. She apologized, she was required to, we all were, regardless of fault or logic when talking to a customer, and offered to take his payment. However, because he was being an ass, she refused to waive the $10 fee, which was her prerogative and totally allowed. The prior rep had made a judgment call to offer to waive the fee. That was that individual's decision, and since he didn't allow her to process the payment, thus he didn't accept her offer, the next person was not bound by that, and the way our phones were set up, it was impossible to transfer it back to the original customer service representative. It is definitely a fine line she towed, but it was still allowed. He ultimately made the payment with the fee, and that was that. Let that be a lesson. Don't be a jerk and set your ego aside. This man was a hero, you know, fighting on the front lines to help rid this world of unjust fees. He was a martyr. Basically, who's that one dude from Braveheart? William Wallace. That's the guy. Basically him. Alright, this story's called Leave Your Trash for Everyone Else? Let me get that for you. Let me start off by saying the building I live in is full of slobs. Dirty the hallways because they know the cleaning guys will take care of it, so hey, why not just make a huge mess because it's someone else's problem, right? Sarcasm! It's a pandemic, and the cleaning crew here have to work harder and make sure every surface is sanitized and just extra cleaning measures as a whole. It's an 8th floor building, and they also clean the building next to us. I feel for them. Anyway, here's how my revenge started. I was walking my dog, and on the way back in, the whole elevator was littered with a crap load of pieces of a Christmas tree, like everywhere. As I got off my floor, I noticed tons of it all over the carpets. So being the sleuth I figured I could be, I followed the trail of twigs to see which apartment it came from. I'm not joking, They must have dragged the damn tree all the way down the hallway because it was everywhere. I had enough people disrespecting our building and the people who work hard to clean it, so I did what I thought was right. I spent 45 minutes making sure I got every last twig, every bit of it, swept the hallways, everything, so all that was left was a bag full of their laziness. I proceeded to barricade their apartment door with all the trimmings. Maybe they forgot them, right? Felt good. Hey, that is good. Freaking, people be cleaning. Don't gotta make it hard for them. In fact, don't even just think about it like that, okay? Like, it shouldn't even have to go that far. You should just be like, oh, at least in public, if you want to make a mess in your house, that's all right. I don't give a crap. But like, when you're out and about, you know, you could just be like, oh shoot, I don't want to make a mess because no one wants to make a mess. And then boom, you want to be the type of person to leave a room better than when you had entered it. You know what I'm saying? Boom. I just thought of that. It took me like 4 times to say it, but I just thought of it. All right, this story's called I Had One Rule for Christmas. No news on the TV. Mother-in-law insists on watching the news. Title says it all. My mother-in-law is very entitled. She visits and plops her ass on the couch and expects us to wait on her hand and foot. The couch may as well be her throne. I had told my wife I had one rule for her visit. No news. I can't stand having the news on. It's nothing but things crafted to get you angry or afraid. My mother-in-law is informed of this multiple times. She insists she can't live without knowing what is going on. It's Christmas. Who gives a crap? It can wait 24 hours. As soon as we go to put my daughter to bed, I hear the news on. Okay, cue PettyRevenge. My TV is controlled by Google Home. My TV is tied into the system, so it acts as a home unit. I tell it to turn off the TV. She puts the TV back on. I turn it off. She turns it back on. I then go into the Fios app and block news channels. She does something I didn't realize that could be done and had Google turn on CNN on YouTube. She doesn't know the difference though between the TV and the YouTube feed. So, cue PettyRevenge. I use the app to pause the playback. My wife is now trying to laugh quietly. She waits a few minutes, has Google started again, and I immediately pause the playback so she again has a frozen screen. She is screaming about how the TV is frozen. So I shout down it must be the storm we are having and the cable is down. It gave me such a warm, fuzzy feeling. Yeah, okay. Who the frickin', okay, mother-in-law, cray man. She should just be watching Christmas movies or something warm and fuzzy and pleasant. Not this frickin' bull poopy.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.